What we'll do is we'll go ahead and get started with just you introducing yourself and, telling a little bit more about um, the first time that you realized that you were psychic. Tell me that story.
My name is Love. I am a psychic medium. Um, the first time that I didn't, well, I knew that like I knew things when I was younger, but I didn't know that I was psychic. I just knew that there were things that I just knew. I don't know why I knew them. It would just happen. So the first thing that I can remember was when I was younger, my mom had left me back in the 70s when it was normal. She worked at night and she left me at home by myself. I lived in a um, it was like a three apartment house, I guess. It had two apartments downstairs and the main house upstairs. And she had left me home and she was saying, "You're gonna be fine. You don't have to go to your grandmother's house. You're gonna be fine." And I literally was like, "I'm not gonna be fine. Like I'm telling you right now, I'm not gonna be okay." And she was like, "No, you're gonna be fine. Everything is gonna be good." And she's like, "If you get scared, you can just go upstairs to the main house where the landlord lived." So I said, "Okay." She left, she locked the door. As soon as that door was locked, I went upstairs. Um, to this day, like I don't know why, but I feel like my mom was trying to kill me. But that's a story for another day. Um, she left. I went upstairs, and we all woke up to her screaming the following morning. And I'm trying to turn off my thing here. Um, we came downstairs, and she basically was in hysteria, screaming and crying. They took everything out of our apartment. There's nothing there. There was no furniture. There was nothing. Like they took everything. They took dishes. They took everything out of the apartment.
Wow.
And so when I came down, the energy that I felt was not an energy of, "Oh my God, I'm so glad that you're okay." It was like, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you here?"
Hmm.
type of stuff. And so she never left me by myself at home after that. We had to buy all new furniture. Like there was nothing left. Like when I tell you we went into that apartment and we were like, "Hello, hello, hello, hello," like there was nothing. They took our couches, our unit that held the TV, the television, the pillows from the couch, the table, like the bed, everything. So it was just weird that that happened. And when I talk about it to my mom today, she never wants to talk about it. I don't want to talk about that. That's not how I remember it, you know? Things like that. I remember in high school, there was a kid coming down the stairs. I was going up the stairs and he hadn't come to my landing yet. He was coming down from above and I was going up. And I said to him, "You need to move over or you're going to trip somebody." And he came around and he didn't move over and I fell and I broke my ankle. Didn't break it, but it was like
Mm.
ligaments tore and all of that. So it was like little things like that that would happen throughout my life that I was like, that's weird. I wonder if I'm psychic. I used to say that all the time.
Really? Okay.
Wonder if I'm psychic. But then I was like, that's not right because
Yeah.
religiously that can't be real, right? And then 2020 is when I I guess well, maybe it was 2017, 18, 19 was when I started like, huh, I don't know if religion is all that. I don't know. I'm gonna start looking into my guides, my angels, things like that. And then my mom died, but not the mom that we were just talking about. That's my biological mom. I left my mom's house and went to another lady's house, and she was my mom. Like she taught me how to be a person, you know?
Hmm.
And when she passed away, I remember she was waiting for me. She was like, "You gotta come and see me. I'm waiting for you." Like, nothing's gonna happen to me. You have to come and see me. And I was like, if I come see you now, I can't help my sister with the funeral. But if I help her with the funeral, I can't come see you now while you're still
Right.
alive. So it was just kind of like, oh, like which one do I do? But I knew that my sister was going to be a mess trying to get the funeral together with my brother. She was going through a divorce at the time, and it was just a lot of stuff going on. So I was just like, I'm just going to wait. But I didn't call her because I knew she was waiting to talk to me. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to call her because if I don't call her, she's not going to pass away. And I remember calling her because my sister called me and she was like, you need to call because it's not going to be long. Like, she's not going to make it. And I was like, okay. And my sister got to the hospital and forgot to call me. And I called her and we laughed and we joked around. She had cancer, so the cancer had hit her brain and she wasn't remembering a lot. So she was like, we were like, remember when you used to tell us not to watch this thing and blah, blah, blah. We were laughing about it. And I was like, Mom, you remember? And she was like, huh, I don't know. I can't pull that out because she was just really, really polite. And so she was just like, I can't pull that up. Let me see if I can remember. I'm not sure. And so she couldn't remember anything because, the cancer already hit her brain. And we just kept laughing and joking and everything. And then she kept saying, when are you going to come see me? Are you going to come? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't really have money. And she's like, I have money. And I was like, you don't have money. She's like, I do. I'm gonna bring you down. I'm gonna fly you down. I'm gonna call the airline tomorrow. I was like, okay, you're not, but okay. And then she passed away. And she passed away. I talked to her that night, and she lasted 2 months to the day before my birthday. She died. So I was born in February. She died in November on my birthday. And so I was just like, oh my goodness, like, I can't believe my mom died. And the night that my sister called me, I freaked out. I was running all around the house trying to find pictures of me and her so I can put them up. And I have a picture of her and my sister right there, but I couldn't find a picture because she hated taking pictures. She didn't like it. And so I was sitting on the floor and I was bawling. I had never cried at a funeral. I had never cried in anybody's death. I had never cried for anyone being sick. None of that ever in my life. And that's also another thing where I was like, I wonder if I'm psychic because I feel like these people are not really dying. I feel like something else is going on. So when she died, I just cried and cried and cried and cried. And I remember I was sitting on the floor and I was crying and everything was very secure. I had taken a couple of books down to see if I could find pictures of her and everything was very secure and I couldn't find a picture and I was devastated. So I just sat on the floor and I was just crying and crying and crying. And this book fell out of the closet, just fell on the floor. And I was like, how did that happen? And I said, this has to be my mom because the book that fell on the floor was my wedding book that she made for me. She took every single picture in that book. She took pictures of everybody, every single minute of the wedding. We were telling her, get out, stop, get away from me, stop taking pictures. And that's the book that fell out of the closet. So I was like, wow, that's so crazy. I wonder if that was my mom. And then I asked her to visit me and she came in my dream and we talked. And I remember the first time I was like, I don't want to see you because if I see you, I'm going to be scared. So she came as a duck the first time. I had two little kids with her, two little ducklings. And she hugged me and she said hi. And then the second time we were in a cabin and it was me and my sister and my mom and the two kids. And I was like, who are those two kids? And she was like, who do you think they are? My sister had two miscarriages and it was both the kids from the miscarriages and they were around the age. So after that, I started getting more like, okay, this is real. People are on the other side. And I used to talk to her all the time. And then that's when I had the dream with my specific spirit guides. At that point, I already could feel angels in my area. I can feel when they left. I could call them in and I could feel the energy of them being next to me after I talked to her. And then I remember talking to Star, which is my personal angel, and I had another angel named Jade. And I remember I was watching a TikTok and he saw something. It was like somebody found like jade, the crystal. It was like this big rock formation. And he was like, that's me, that's my name. And I pictured him as a green-eyed person. So I was like, oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay, we'll call you Jade. And I had the crazy things started happening. So I painted a phoenix, and then everyone that I met after that said that they saw a phoenix in their dream the day before they met me. Every single person. It was like 3 or 4 people that I met in that time. Then I went to sleep one night, and in my dream, well, before I had went to sleep, I painted a picture of a woman. It was like the profile of her, and it was black and stars. It was just like stars, but it was like the profile of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then in front of her were 3 bubbles. One was yellow, one was teal, and one was purple. I remember that. I know it's here somewhere. I don't know where exactly it is, but I painted that and I went to sleep. I didn't remember nothing about that painting. I put it away, went on to the next painting. That night I went to sleep. I was laying on a piece of marble in my dream. And I remember seeing like you know how they have like facial recognition programs,
Mm-hmm.
or for like the police, and like all the faces go through and then it stops on the face that it is. I was seeing that and I was like, that's weird. And then it stopped on this very brown skinned person. He had a hood on, like a brown hood, and his eyes were green, super, super, super green. And I was like, Jade? And he smiled, and then he was behind me. And then Star was on this side. I never got to see her, but I see her, like I know what she looks like, but she was over here and he was over here, and I was laying on this marble slab.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jade was like, and now you're going to get your auras. And I was like, what? And he was like, ah, yellow aura. Oof. And like my body bounced off of that marble thing. I thought it was gonna fall over. And I was like, what is happening? Then I got a teal one, and then I had a purple one. I woke up the next morning and I was like, that was weird. That was like the weirdest dream I ever had in my life. And then I remember my daughter came in and she was like, Mom, I miss my puppy. Her puppy had died like that week. And I could see him. I saw him running around and like putting his little paws up, and
And when you mean by see, like in your mind's eye, or were you
in my
actually
mind,
seeing? Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know. I can't see them, but I can see them in my mind's eye though, and I can
Okay.
feel their energy. So I was like, I see him. That's so weird. And she was like, you see him? And I was like, yeah, he's putting his little butt up in the air like he used to, and he's jumping around. And we had another dog that had died, and I was like, and I see Buddy too. He's right there. Like, and so she was like, that's weird. And I was like, I don't know. He wants you to know that he loves you. And I don't know why, but he just keeps showing me his blue eyes, because he had blue eyes. And she was like, oh, that's so crazy or whatever. And it was weird, but I was like, that's odd, but whatever. And then the next day she called me and she was like, Mom. And I was like, what happened? She was like, Mom, I was in the Starbucks line because she was working there. And this puppy was in this car and he had blue eyes and he would not stop staring at me. And he
Hmm.
kept staring. The car left and he was like going like this around the corner. She was like, it was the craziest thing. You told me that he wanted me to know about his blue eyes. And I was like, that's weird. And she was like, it is. That's so crazy. And then after that, I talked to the one girl that saw the phoenix in her dream. And she was telling me something was wrong with her. I don't remember. And I was like, I don't know. I'm seeing like there's somebody on the phone with you, and that person has on black and they have like straight black hair, and they're telling you something. Whatever they're telling you, that's what you need to do. And she was like, I was just talking to my friend before this, and she was giving me advice. And I was like, I don't need to do that. And I was like, well, you need to listen to her. And she did, and it like saved her. I don't remember what was going on, but it like saved her from whatever situation it was. And then I remember she was also looking for something in her house, a book or something. And I was like, I feel like it's on a bookshelf. It's kind of catty cornered a chair or something. But the chair is a weird color, it's like green, but it's like gray. And she's like, oh my God, you just described my living room. I had never met her, never been to her house. I didn't know anything about her. And I was like, what is going on? Like, why are these things happening? And then I talked to my friend, Barb. I think she was the first one that I talked to that was like her father.
Mhm.
I had talked to her, and no, it was Arlene Garcia. She was like, that's so crazy that you can do all those things. And like I was telling her stuff that was in her house. She had also saw a phoenix before she saw me. She had a dream about it. And just one day she just sent me a picture, and she was like, have you seen this person? It's like, that what? Like, how you send me a picture and be like, have you seen this person? Like, who is this? So I looked at the picture and I was like, did she pass away? Was she sick? I feel like she was in a bed. There was somebody there. Was it her father? Her father and I just like saw the whole hotel room. I mean, the whole hospital room. I saw her like hooked up to machines, and like her father was there and he was crying, and I was telling her the whole thing, and she was like, oh my God. And then I was telling her, yeah, she really loves you, and like she's showing me this building. And then I explained to her the building, and she was like, get the fuck out of here. And I was like,
So, yeah. So at this point, did it really click with you
I,
that you
I
were
was like,
psychic?
am I a medium? Like, what? I didn't know what was going on. It
Right.
was just like, oh, I feel like I can talk to people that are on the other side.
Hmm.
And after that, it was just, I talked to Barbara, and her father was like the connection, because her father wanted to speak to her, and I felt his energy come inside of my body. He
Okay.
started crying. He was texting. I wasn't texting. I was like, she was asking me stuff and I was answering,
Hmm.
but I was not doing it. It was like almost like my spirit moved to the side and his spirit took over and was just kind of texting her back and forth. And she was like, oh my God, yes, he used to say that all the time. Oh my God, yes, he used to do that all the time. And I was like, I felt his tears, I felt his sadness, I felt like all these things. And I remember back in those times when I first got my psychic abilities, whenever I did any type of reading or anything like that, all of this right here, it felt like a crown on my head would just tingle. And I used to be like this, like trying to push it up, because sometimes it would feel like it's coming down over my eye. It doesn't happen anymore, only sometimes if it's a really strong spirit. But after I talked to Barb's father, that's when I was like, I think I'm a psychic medium. And I told my kids, and my kids were like, you're something's wrong with you. You need to go to the hospital.
Okay. All right. So at that point, like, tell me about the transition from knowing that you're psychic to wanting to help others. Like, did it just happen immediately? Like, you just felt like,
This happened. It wasn't a thing where I wanted to help people. It was just people were just coming to me.
okay.
It was just like that girl Arlene, after she told me that, she sent me another thing of another cousin, and she was like, do you see her? And I read for her. And then Shania, I was talking to her and I was like, yeah, it's so crazy because I'm a psychic medium. I didn't know. No, Jason was the biggest one, because Jason, he was my professor in school, and his cousin came to me.
Hmm.
out of the clear blue sky. I don't know this man from anywhere. He's laughing right now because he thinks this story is like the funniest story ever. But he came to me and he kept saying, you need to tell Jason that I'm okay. You need to call him. You need to call him. And I was like, I don't talk to Jason. Like, we don't talk. Like he was my professor. I graduated. I'm like on to other things. He's on my Facebook, but we don't talk to each other. And how crazy is that going to be that I'm just going to be like, hey, I'm psychic and your cousin is here bothering me. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, how am I going to tell him that I'm psychic? I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And he just kept, you got to tell him, you got to tell him. But I just made a video about this recently, but he would not let me do my homework. I couldn't wash dishes. I couldn't take a shower. Like every time I went to do something, he was like, when are you going to talk to Jason? When are you going to talk to Jason? When are you going to talk? Like he would not stop. He's laughing. He thinks this is hilarious. He thinks this is the most funniest thing ever. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell him, like, you need to find somebody else. And I remember this went on for like a week and a half. And I was just like, I got to do homework. Like, I have to get these classes done. And then I got an ear infection. And I asked my angels, like, why do I have an ear infection? Like, my ear is really hurting. It was just very sudden, came out of nowhere. And my angel star was like, because you're not listening. Like, you need to go and give him
They
that
always
medicine.
say that, right? It's like the
Yeah,
default. You're not listening. You're not
exactly.
listening.
So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to make a small little video. I'm going to say all the things that he's saying on the video. I'm going to send it to Jason and I'm going to be done with it. So I
Yeah.
basically was like, listen, I know this is going to sound weird. I know this is going to be really, really crazy. You're probably going to think I'm a lunatic, but this is what I have. This is the person. I don't know who he is. Please just take the message. And it turned out that every single thing that I told him was absolutely correct. And he was like, how did you even know that my cousin died? I was like, he's here bothering me. And to this day, Wes is always with me. He's
Yeah.
always, yeah.
So
But he
speaking,
talked his name in the clouds, all this stuff. He did like a
right. So let's say, because there's a lot of people that are kind of transitioning from, doubting their abilities to being pretty confident that they are psychic. What would you say to them if they are having boundary issues with spirits, spirits that are basically doing what you were just saying?
they really don't, they really won't bother you if you don't want them to.
Okay.
It's just that it's the boundaries with them are very, very clear. If you say, I don't want to see people
Hmm.
walking around, I don't want to ever see people walking around, you will never see people walking around. If you say, you know what, I don't want anybody touching me, I don't want to hear, I feel no hand or nobody breathing on my neck, like I don't want none of that, they respect that. They know that this human experience is hard enough. And there are people that lose their abilities because they say that they don't want them. You know what I mean? And then it's hard to get back once you lose them. So for me, I just basically was like, I don't want nobody touching me. I don't want to see anybody moving anything in my house, you know? And I just want to see pictures. I don't mind feeling what they're feeling and things like that. And like little by little, you start to get used to a lot of things. And then when people start doing stuff, you're like, oh, thanks.
So no, that's awesome. So I want to go back to something that you just said. You said that you don't want to see anything. Usually when people start learning more about the spiritual community, they become more open and more comfortable. Is there a reason why you don't want to see the spirits? Is it connecting to?
I don't know if it's just something that religiously, like when I was religious, I was always afraid of like being in the dark room and like
Mhm.
being alone and things like that. And I think honestly, it was because I knew that spirits were there. I could feel them. I knew they were there. I just
Right.
didn't know that I knew that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I think that type of thing bothers me. It makes me like, oh my goodness, like why are things moving in my house type of deal. But I do see them in my head and I do
Mhm.
feel when they are here. So like when I'm doing a reading, I feel the person, I feel their energy, whether it's slow and calm or it's just like Like, I have so much to say. I got to tell you everything. Boom, 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 boom. Like, it just depends on who the spirit is. You can feel them. You know that they're here sitting with you. You know what they're doing. And honestly, they do things a lot. Like the other day, somebody let me inside of the gate of my job. You have to put up the thing on the keypad. It doesn't open without the keypad ever. Even if a car goes in front of you, it comes down. Even if you're underneath it, it will come down. And there was no car in front of me. I went to my bag to grab my ID, and the gate just opened, just
Wow.
out of nowhere. And I found out when I did the reading this week that it was my friend, well, not my friend, but the reading that I did, it was her dad. He told me after he did the reading, he was like, "Oh yeah, that was me. I opened the gate for you." I was like, "Thanks."
So
Do things, but I just I don't want to feel them touching me or like holding I don't want none of that.
no, I completely understand.
Yeah,
I get it.
I don't want things moving in my house like this while I'm, no, thank you.
Like for me personally, I want to see it. And it's so funny because I grew up the opposite. Like I grew up watching horror movies with my mom. And
Yeah,
so I contributed anything spirit supernatural or paranormal to demons.
yes,
It's gonna be like something evil that's gonna come out of the dark corner of my room and eat me or something.
right, right,
But
right.
now where I'm at, like I feel I want to see it. And I think it's probably because I do like challenging myself a little bit. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what I'm going to do with it if I do see it, what other than
yeah.
just seeing things. I should
Like,
probably think a little bit ahead, but but that's just me. That's just me. So I want to talk more about like the fact that you've probably gotten what like 50 or so or more readings under your belt at this point, right?
I think it's been more than 50 because
Wow.
before I started doing it on TikTok, I was doing it for every friend. It just seemed like within the first month, I probably did 50 readings.
Oh yeah. I forgot about TikTok.
Of me, of me knowing that I got it.
Hmm.
It was like after Jason, then it was like, oh, I think this girl's grandmother died. And then because the one thing is like when you're a psychic, for some reason, everyone who dies, you know about it. Somehow it gets back to you. And that's a thing that I'm noticing now. I actually started noticing that last week. So there was an accident the other day and I couldn't get to work. I mean, I got there, but I couldn't get there. And when I got there, somebody told me, "Oh yeah, a young man died," right? And I was like, "Oh, like why would you tell me that?" Right? Then yesterday I was in lunch and there's this guy that I see all the time. I never get to eat lunch with him. He's like, "Oh, come sit next to me." And we were like talking and laughing. Middle of the conversation, he's like, "Yeah, my mom died 2 weeks ago." What is going on? And then it's just like, then I was talking to some lady that I don't even know her, and she's like, "Yeah, my granddaughter just passed away." I'm like, why is everyone telling me? But it's because the spirits know that you can talk to them. So they will find a way to connect you with their people. And sometimes you can connect with them, and sometimes you can't because it's like weird to be sitting down eating lunch with somebody and then like, "Oh, my mom died two weeks ago. Oh, I can talk to her. Do you want to talk?" Like that's weird. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I mean, even though I get those hits all the time, I have a boundary where I have to connect with them in order to hear them. Because after Wes,
Hmm.
mind you, he's still laughing. After Wes, I was just like, no more. Like, y'all can come to me and talk to me and be around me before I connect with you. But until then, like, I don't talk to me. Like, don't come in and start talking because I got things to do. Like, I got to wash my dog and, I got things going on.
Right.
So I don't, just like there's some psychics that they, could be walking through the store and they're like, "Oh, her mother died, and they can see everybody's. I don't want to do that because I feel it's odd for me not to say anything, but it's also odd for me to walk up to a random person and be like, hey, did your mom just die? Because she's telling me right now, like I wouldn't want anybody walking up to me in the store like, did your mom die? Like, yeah, but why are you talking to me? Like, that's weird. You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, you just reminded me of something. My husband showed me a video about like a week and a half ago of this lady. You might have seen it. This lady, she's I would say maybe in her late 40s, darker skinned. I think she might have braids in her hair, but either way, she's in a Dollar Tree or a dollar store, and she walks up to the cashier, and she was really polite. I mean, she was so kind. But when she mentioned to the cashier that she was speaking to a dead loved one, regardless of her approach, the cashier just had a
Right.
complete breakdown.
Of
And it was
course.
bad. It was like,
Can you imagine? Like, imagine somebody really, really close to you just died. And
yeah,
then somebody just walks up to you like, oh, I can talk to her and I'm just going to tell you everything that she's saying. Like,
yeah,
you could wind up losing your job. You can get in a car accident because you're so freaked out, and then some people are just not like into paranormal. They think that's demonic. So to me, it's because that used to happen to me before I put up that boundary. I would be on the bus driving, because that's my profession. And I would have people like, oh, my granddaughter's back there. Do you think you can tell her I said hi? I'm like, no, I can't. I'm not doing that. Nope, not doing that. So they do want to speak to their people. They want to let them know I'm okay, everything is great. But for me, it's just so much more helpful when they're open to it and they want it.
when they
And
approach you.
to you saying,
Right.
listen, I really want to talk to them, because then you can really tell them exactly what's going on. You can go down the list of all the things that they want them to know, you know? And I think once the spirit realm sees that, like they'll still try. Oh yeah, like that's my daughter, you know? But I'm not going to do it. Like me
Right.
personally, unless the person says to me, I want to talk to this person, you know? But like, honestly, once you're a psychic medium, everybody comes out the woodwork. I had a guy I hadn't talked to him since high school. Still don't talk to him. He just texts me out of the blue, how you doing? How's everything going? I was like, everything's going great. What do you need? Nothing. Just wanted to talk to you. I haven't seen you in a long time, blah, blah, blah. We text back and forth for a little bit. And then he told me that his father died. And I was like, wow, that's crazy because I can talk to dead people. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And then his father just appeared. And I was able to tell him a bunch of stuff about his dad.
Mm.
And he happened to be here in Orlando, where his father used to take him to a restaurant, in the restaurant that his father used to take him. He lives in New York. And I was like, are you in a restaurant right now? Because your father's saying that there's a restaurant that he used to take you, that you were here. And he's like, oh my God, this is the restaurant. That's so crazy. And he sat there and he said, I was sitting there trying not to cry because it was so overwhelming, but I wanted to hear everything that my father said. And since then, I haven't talked to him. It was just like,
Wow.
I saw him in high school. I saw him for this. And then I haven't seen him, but it was because his father wanted to talk to him. So
Mhm.
his father connected him to me. And that's what happens. It's just like all these people are magnetically drawn to you. Once you're a medium, it's just like everybody wants to talk to you.
So, speaking of how many readings that you've done and how many people you've talked to and things like that, do you feel more inclined to teach people how to connect with their loved ones as opposed to being overwhelmed by requests and,
I don't,
things like that?
well, the thing is like I'm not overwhelmed by requests.
Okay.
The requests are pretty steady. They're not like, it's not like I'm not like at the top like Edward, like all these people everywhere. I have a good flow of people that
Mhm.
come. There are two people that I have talked to, but the thing is like when someone is a psychic medium or someone has psychic ability, I can feel it. It's like I feel the energy of their psychic ability. So I have a friend named Megan and a friend named Abby. And I told them, I was like, I don't know what it is, but I see the three of us doing readings together.
Mhm.
the future. And they were like, "Oh," you know. And as I kept talking to them, my friend Megan, she talked to her grandfather and was able to give a message to her father. And she was like, it was just this overwhelming feeling. I knew he was there. And it was like this song that he used to sing. And I was like, that was him. And she was like, I was like, no, it can't be him. You know, she was trying to talk herself out of it. And then Abby, I had her and Megan do the remote viewing where I would just hide keys in my house. They've never been here. One lives in New Hampshire, the other one lives in Texas. Never been to my house, never been anywhere. And I would just hide my keys somewhere and say, where are they? And they could describe to me where exactly they were, you know? And once they did that, I was like, you can connect with any energy that you want to. And they both read for me, and they both read my dog that died, and let them both read my dog. And even though they both read and they both were completely accurate, it was very different, the reading, and I got different information from both of them. So I have trained them,
Mhm.
but I knew they were psychic when I met them.
Mhm.
You know, it was almost like we were connected to each other because they are very psychic also.
Right. So
So
it's so funny because when I'm out in public and things like that, I would say maybe a year ago until I realized what it was. But anyways, when I'm out in public, I'll be speaking to someone, right? And some people are just, you walk up and you speak to them normal, but some people would really, really make me anxious. And I
yeah,
remember I would immediately assume that it was all me. I was just like, okay, what's wrong with me? Why am I acting? Why do I feel this? I need to separate myself and go sit in the car or something and chill out. And I think it was like either a dream or a message that I got from spirit that told me that I was sensing their spirit, and they were also sensing mine. That's why they were so nervous as well, because it wasn't just me, it was also their how would I say, um they were anxious as well. I guess I'll just say that.
because the thing is like I remember I used to be on, I had went on a dating app only once, and I met three people, I think. And all three people, I got this like horrifying fear from all three. And one guy tried to take my identity. The other person tried to get into my computer. And the other guy wanted to meet me during the pandemic. Like, we need to meet in person. I'm like, we can't go outside. What is wrong with you? But all three, I got a really sinking, like, fear. Every time they text me, every time I got that text, I felt this fear of like somebody was gonna kill me, like somebody's here and they're gonna kill me. But that's just the energy of the other person. If that person is trying to do harm to you or is trying to do harm to anyone, you'll be able to feel it. If you can read energy, you can feel that energy like that. So if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling like, oh, this something's not right here, it's usually never your energy. It's you reading somebody else's energy around you.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. And I think that I guess what I was the reason why I brought it up is because I think also it's when you are sensing someone else's psychic abilities, maybe.
Mm.
So, or someone sensing mine. Because growing up, honestly, I used to have this crazy insecurity because people would be so freaking weird around me. They'd be afraid to talk to me. They would talk to my friends, and I'm standing right there. They'd ask my friends if I was cool. They could continue talking to me. Like, it was weird energy. And I remember I'd be so insecure about it because I'm like, well, let me smile more, let me laugh more, let me seem more friendly and outgoing and stuff. But I think in a way they were also sensing my own psychic abilities. So it was kind of like me giving off something without even realizing it. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Now, see, when I feel psychic ability in other people, the way that I feel
Mhm.
it, it's very soothing. And I feel almost like a magnetic connection. Like I just feel connected, not to the person, but to their energy.
Mhm.
And it just feels familiar. It feels like,
Yeah.
you know what I know. We know this together. You know what I mean? So I feel comfortable though. I don't feel afraid or anxious.
Yeah.
Whenever I feel afraid or anxious, it's because somebody
Yeah.
is just in a good space.
And I think this is where discernment comes in, because we're all so different in how we can tell different energies and stuff. And I'm still working on trying to figure out, what is coming off and, what it means, things like that, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just kind of one of those things that I have to record or, take a mental note of. And if I come across it again, then I could say, okay. But I
Yeah,
have met some really, really strong people that were, in my opinion, good people, but they made me anxious because of their strong energy, because I
right.
just didn't know what to do with it. Because I'm like, whoa, these are some strong women here, but
Yes.
but no, there is definitely something to say about discernment. So speaking of that, how did you figure out what things meant for you? Was it your guides that were telling you, or were you just kind of like,
I think I just kind of like, it was the process of elimination,
yeah, trial and error?
Um, yeah, because things would just happen. Like for me, I was just like I would be like, did I just do that? Like, how did I know that? And the thing is like with my main angel star, I can see her. Um, and I've always been able to see her. And I feel like I can get a nod from her or a nope, you shouldn't be doing that, or don't go that way, or you know what I mean? And so she kind of guides me through, but because I also feel energy, like I can feel it. Like I
Mhm.
know when it's there. Um, I kind of know, okay, this is good or this is not good. Like I remember I went to go get Journey of Souls, the book Journey of or Destiny of Souls. I didn't know that was the book I was going to go get. I went into the bookstore and I bent down to get the book, and I literally could not get close to the bookshelf because there was an energy there, and it was like between me and the bookshelf, and I literally had to sit down because I could not stand up with this energy. It was too much. So I sat down and I was like, this is weird. I was texting my friend. I was like, dude, I can't get close to the bookshelf. I'm not really sure what's going on. And she was like, what? And I was like, I feel this energy and it's huge. And I'm like on my knees right now. Like I cannot stand up. And I looked up and I saw the book Destiny of Souls. And that was the only one I could take off the bookshelf. I couldn't take anything else. And so I was able to get that. And right next to it was Dying to Be Me.
Hmm.
Got those two books. And then I stood sitting there for a while because it was also kind of making me a little bit dizzy. So I couldn't really stand up, but there was a presence there and it was there for me. Like, this is what you need to get. This is the book you're going to get. And this is what we're doing right now. And I stood there for like an hour and a half, and then I was able to leave. But because I can feel the energy, like it's tangible for me, I can kind of understand. Now, after I had that dream, a lot of things were clear cognizant. I just knew. I was like, oh, that's why I never cried at funerals, because I just knew that they weren't dead. Because to me, it didn't make sense. Why are we crying? What is the reason? But I didn't understand the fact that they were still alive, but
Mhm.
I also didn't understand why are we crying? Like they're not in there anymore. Like they're not in that bodysuit. Like what I don't, it just was like my brain could not figure out why are humans crying at a funeral. Like it's not what is happening. You know what I mean? But after that dream and after having that dream and knowing, oh, I'm psychic, I knew
Mhm.
right away, okay, I'm psychic medium. And then after that, I was like, oh, wow, oh, that's the reason why I didn't get robbed. Like when we got robbed, I wasn't there. Oh, that's the reason why I knew that that kid was gonna, like, all those things just started flooding back right
Mhm.
away. And so it was very easy for me just to know things. And the thing is like before this, I knew things. And, sometimes my grandmother would be like, how do you know that? Like, nobody taught you that. Like, how do you know? And I'm like, no, I don't know how I know. But I knew because I was being guided by my angels and things like that ever since I was little. I just wasn't cognizant of it.
Mhm.
And then once I became cognizant of it, everything else just made sense. So I didn't have to kind of like be like, oh, this means this means that. I just knew, okay,
Right.
somebody's trying to hurt me. That's why I'm getting this sinking feeling. Or that person is really psychic. Or you're walking right now. Oh, there's something red next to you. Like it's just, I can just feel and see all the energy. It's
Okay.
weird. It is. It's weird.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying it's weird. It's just so, it's so odd. It's just, even to me now, it's very, very odd. But
It's surreal, I think. It's kind of like, for me personally, I think it's because of entertainment. It makes it so frilly with glitter, and you're flying on a broomstick, and if you're a psychic then you have a crystal ball, and the real life version is
yes, and
yeah.
it's nothing like that. It's just so, it's so crazy because like there are people that are just like, I have to use tarot cards. And it's like, you don't though. Like you can put them down and ask the same question and get the same answer. Tarot cards
Yes,
are going to help you. It's just a tool.
it's just a tool.
Right, but it's not something that, because I have tarot cards, I have tarot cards here.
Mhm.
I don't know how to read them. I'm not like one of those people could be like, oh, this means this and this and that. But I know that if I'm asking a yes or no, or if I'm asking a question and I get a certain card and I look it up, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like I understand, and I only do it if I'm not clear on something. But
Yeah.
we all have psychic medium ability.
Hmm.
We all use it every single day. It's just that some people block it, some people argue with it, and some people use it. There are times that we're walking around and your angel is saying, go to the left. And you're like, I must be just, that must be just me acting silly. I'm going to go to the right. And then you go to the right and you're like, I knew I should have went to the right. You knew it because your angels have been telling you that for like a week, you know? But you're arguing with them like, no, it's just me silly. And they're so frustrated when they tell us stuff and we don't listen. They're just like, oh my God, like I try to save you from that accident, but no, you had to go that way, right? You had to go do it. They get very, very frustrated with us.
Yeah, and I think also it's kind of like it goes right back to just kind of trying to assume what we can do with these abilities, because most people can only think of one thing, and that is to do readings. But I feel like there's so many more things that you can do with your psychic abilities. And a lot of people are already currently using it in their day job, like myself. Like I didn't realize that until just recently, that in speaking to the people that I speak with at my day job, and again, I deal with people that are in a community or demographic of, just a lot of crazy mental health issues, and homelessness. They're dealing with really intense things in their life. And I didn't realize that in helping them and just being in their presence and speaking to them, that I am using my abilities at at the highest level.
Yeah.
So and that's just, it doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. I think we get stuck in it has to look a certain way, and if it doesn't, then you're not doing it right. So
Well, the thing is like, if you notice that you are, I feel like people that are constantly moving around or constantly having different jobs or constantly going to different states and moving to different, like, oh, I used to work here and now I work here, and I used to be a florist and now I work at Disney, and then before that I was a movie producer, and before that I was a dancer. Those people most times are psychic mediums because they're being put in these situations and in these places so that they can help certain people in those situations and in those places.
Can you
I
say that again, please?
I personally have been I worked as a bank teller. All my jobs have never, none of them connect. I was a bank teller, I was a bus driver, I drove the school bus, I worked as a medical assistant. Where else? I worked as a babysitter. I worked in a kindergarten, like a a kindergarten facility. I mean, none of my jobs connected. I was a florist for a little bit. I worked in like a couple of what do you call it? Like stores, like clothing stores. I worked in the World Trade Center. All the things But I can tell you at every job who I helped. I can tell you what I was there for, what was the reason I was put there, who was the person that I affected. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And I didn't know that while I was going through it. I just thought, oh, I can't never, I'm so bored. Like I get to one job and I'm bored. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something else. But the
Oh
thing
my gosh.
is that when you're a psychic medium, you are sent everywhere. I don't want to be, I have 2 degrees. I don't need to be in college right now, but I'm in college because I'm helping people. You know what I'm saying? And it's not, sometimes it's just you being there.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's just like, being that energy that somebody can bounce their stuff off of. You give them a little bit of advice and then that's it. And then sometimes it's just you wore a red shirt that day and they needed that shirt to tell them that this is what they needed to do for the day, and then the next day you got fired. That's just sometimes how it is.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a really good example. Excuse me, when I met my husband, I didn't love him. I didn't really even like him, honestly. But I got with him because I felt I couldn't get anybody else. I have to be with this man because I can't get anybody else. Um, the day before we got engaged, he told me that he just came out of prison. Who does that? Who says that to somebody? And I was like, it's not a problem. I've known you a year. You're all good. Looking back now, I'm like, if that was my daughter, I would have been like, girl, you are not marrying that man. But I got him to a place where he, we were married for 20 something years, right? We
Hmm.
had 3 children. When I met him, he was working in the World Trade Center. He was making like $7 an hour. He had been there 10 years and he went from $6 to $7 in 10 years. And I was like, dude, this is not it. Now, I mean, granted, this was back in the 90s where, our rents were like $300 and it wasn't really horrible. But I'm like, dude, you shouldn't be in a job for 10 years and getting $1 extra. Like, that's crazy. Right. So I got with him. I remember in his job, they had like a little Starbucks stand. At that time, nobody knew what Starbucks was. They taught him. He said, oh, like they want me to go to this place and like be a manager, but I've been in jail and I don't want to leave this job because I know this job is, this is secure and they hire people that are prisoners. So I'm good here. And I'm like, we've been married like 10 years now. Like the whole prison thing, like you got to let that go. Like you're going to have to let that go and go apply. And he did. And they made him a manager. And once they made him a manager in New Jersey, we moved to Pennsylvania because he was making enough money. We got a house. He, learned what it was like to be in a house, to have a car, all these things he never experienced as a prisoner, right? Then things went down with us. The World Trade Center went down, but it went down. Check this out. He asked for a raise, and I was like, Domus, don't ask for a raise. Just go to the other job. They're gonna give you like 10 times what you're making. They were offering him like $64,000 a year. He was making $7 an hour. Okay. So I was like, just go with them. Oh, I'm gonna ask them for $1 more an hour. If they can give me $1 more an hour, I'm gonna stay. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, Domus, I'm telling you, don't do it. Right. He asked them, they said no. He went with Starbucks. We moved to Pennsylvania. Probably like 2 months later, the World Trade Centers came down.
Oh, wow.
And he would have been in there because he used to
Mm,
work at 5 in the morning and he would be there until 3 in the afternoon. So he would have been in the middle of
yeah.
his day on the 73rd floor in the second tower. Okay. That's number one. Then we moved to Pennsylvania. We got a house. We did all of that. We got divorced. We got apartments. He was doing really, really well. He learned how to start paying bills, how to not go crazy with money and all that stuff. We got divorced. I moved here. He's still in that apartment, but he's not in prison. He's not dead. You know what I mean? So I feel like even though it didn't work out for us, I was meant to help him get from where he was in the Bronx with all his friends bugging out, selling drugs in front of him, to Pennsylvania, to, wherever he is right now. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And he did really well. He also got fired from Starbucks, and he was like, don't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know. I don't know if I can get another job. I told a friend of mine, they got him a job in a pharmaceutical company. He was there for years, paid my child support for the whole time. When my child support ended, he lost that job and he works for Amazon. But he's working, he lives in a nice apartment, he knows how to take care of his money. He learned a lot from just, us being together and
Mhm.
taking care of children and things like that. So that's how it works. When you're a psychic medium, you are put in positions to help people. And, unfortunately, sometimes it's not love. Sometimes it's not friendships. Sometimes it's not good relationships because you have an energy of helping. So, unfortunately, you get put in the worst situations.
Yeah.
You have the worst people around you, and, you wind up not trusting anybody because you're like, oh my God. But, in the end, once you heal and you get yourself to a good place, and you can see all these people that are on the other side that are there to help you, it becomes a very interesting place, because then you're just like, okay, so this guy is terrible. What am I here to do for him? Like, what's gonna happen now? But then you learn also that some of the lessons are for you to stand up for yourself, to say, I'm not going to deal with this, and then those people start to trickle away, and then other types of people start coming in, and you learn how to deal with those type of people.
Mhm.
So I just feel like when you are a psychic medium, especially if you're just bouncing everywhere, family members and friends and on people's couches, and going to this job and that job, and nothing seems to ever be connected, and you just don't understand why, most of the time it's because you have some sort of a gift, and you are there to help those certain people in those areas that you would not reach on a normal, basis. You're being sent there to help those people.
So I just want to say thank you for saying that, because people like me who have done that my entire life, I know
Yes.
there's a bunch of other people that have also dealt with that too, because we live in a society that tells us right out of high school, we get a job and we
Gotta know
stay
what you
there for
want.
30 years.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, no, I really need to hear that. And, I'm constantly reminding myself as well that my simple goal in life, my purpose is just simply just be happy and
Yeah.
also serve in a way, just be authentic. So,
Exactly.
let's go ahead. I feel like I can talk to you forever. I have a billion
Yeah.
more questions, but I'm going to go ahead and let you go.
Okay. I
Tell
mean, if
me
you
how.
have more questions, I'm okay right now. I gotta walk the dog in a little bit, but it's up to you.
Yeah,
But
I'm losing light and I got to run to Home Depot to
yeah,
get my floorings.
I gotta go shopping for food too. But
Yeah. All right. Well, tell people how they can get a reading from you.
right now our free readings are over. We had a very good run doing that, but they can go into my profile on my TikTok, and they can get a blind reading, which is just basically they put their appointment, they put their name, they put who they want to talk to, and I do the reading on TikTok. And then they just have that recording, they can download it, they can duet it, they can do whatever they want with the reading. That's $66. And then if they want to have a Zoom meeting where it's just a live reading, I still do meet with their people beforehand just to make sure that I get everything, because sometimes when you're doing it live, it's so much coming here and so much going there, and then you're coming back with me, and I'm like trying to get all these things. So I try to write down like a good amount of things so that I can touch on every point. So even if I say something that is amazing for you, and then we go off on a tangent on that, I still have like 15 other things that I can tell you. So those meetings, those are $77. That's the Zoom
Okay.
meeting. So,
That's
and
not bad.
my TikTok. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you hear that, guys, you better get her while she's still, while she has time, because
No, because we were free for a couple of years now, and we just started charging. So,
Yeah.
and we've had some really, really good readings so far. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you so much for taking time out of your super busy day to talk to
I
me.
know. But girl, I don't know if I can make it at 6, but my little one is sleeping over there. I wish I could turn the camera so you can see him. I see her, but she's just like fully out. She had her little Blanca day.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can show you her. She's probably gonna be like, why are you showing me?
Oh,
See her lay out. She's like, what do you
is
want?
she albino?
No, she's just a white dog.
Okay. She's cute. I've never seen an all white.
She's so cute. She's white and she has like little brown freckles on her.
Oh.
But her name is Blanca and she had Blanca Day today. And she's just, she had a bath, she had her nails done, she went to the park. The only thing she didn't get was a cup. Here she comes. Here she comes. Say hi.
She hears us talking about her.
You see her?
Hey, Blanca.
You see her?
Hi. You know, it's so funny. She looks just like my dog, but he's all
Does
black.
she?
And yeah, he's all black and he has a gray snout because he's old. So she looks just like him.
What kind of dog is he? Because we have
So
no idea what she is.
yeah, so he is a black lab and a pit bull. So she's half pit for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely half pit. And they actually had her down as a lab in the PetSmart today. And I was like,
Yep.
she may be, but for a pit because she got like that face.
All
She's
right. I'm going to let you go. You have an amazing night, and I will go ahead and send you everything that you need after this meeting. But thank you
okay.
again. You have a good one.
Okay, good. See you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.